Wargame European Escalation is an RTS game made by the French developer Eugen Systems, and it's a very interesting RTS that sort of came out of nowhere, as in it wasn't massively publicised before its release, and since this game's been released it did incredibly well, and there was a sequel, Wargame Airland Battle, which is also very good, that's worth playing. Now, I'm reviewing this as European Escalation stands. Airland Battle's good. If you could get both for a very similar price, go for Airland Battles. It's basically this game updated, but with jet aircraft in. But if not, because this one is normally cheaper, go for this one. So, Wargame European Escalation takes place during the late Cold War, sort of the early 80s, and it's about an inevitable sort of conflict between NATO and the Warsaw Pact. And most of it's set in East Germany. It's set in the Fulda Gap region, which is where, sort of a little history lesson, if tank warfare kicked off, that was where it was suspected to happen. The Fulda Gap was very flat farm terrain, and it was suspected either NATO or East Germany could move their tanks through the terrain very easily, and therefore both sides had their defences set up heavily around that area. There are several campaigns in Wargame. They opt for short campaigns, sort of a few missions, rather than one long campaign, and each of the campaigns set around a possible different scenario that could have started conventional warfare during the Cold War. But the main function of the game is the multiplayer online. Now, this is an interesting RTS because rather than playing as a single faction or nation, what you do in this is you build a deck from one of the sides. So as a NATO player, you could have vehicles from either, or vehicles or units, whatever, from either United States, Great Britain, France or West Germany, and as the Warsaw Pact you could have Soviet Union, East German, Polish or Czechoslovakian units. So what you do is you build a deck and you choose which units you want to use, and these encompass things like supply vehicles, tanks, artillery, aircraft. In this one it's only helicopters, and other support vehicles like anti-aircraft. And then the main idea of the online is that you have a game where rather than spamming clicking units, what you do is you control territory, and for the main section anyway, you have points, and the points, the first team to essentially inflict the most casualties on their opponent wins, not from completely eliminating the other player. This is a good system because it means people don't spam as much as in a lot of RTS games, which ruins them. What happens in Wargame is that a player has to choose carefully between offensive and defensive strategies, because say your unit costs 100 points to bring into the game. If the enemy destroy it, they get 100 points, and the first team to get to that point wins. So if you're playing to 2,000 points, you have to be careful, because if you play offensively, obviously you're going to be inflicting enemy casualties, but if you're taking too many casualties while carrying out your offensive, the enemy could still win. So generally, a single spam tactic that's used in a lot of RTS games will completely fail in this if the opponent set up a good defense. If you just spam tanks and they've got a lot of helicopters, your tanks are screwed and they're going to win the game. Similarly, if you just spam helicopters and the opponent has a lot of anti-aircraft, you're going to lose. So it's very nice that you have an RTS game for once that doesn't just support spamming the most powerful unit in the game over and over. Graphics are very nice. It's one of those RTS games where you can zoom completely out and zoom in without any sort of pause, and the graphics up close look quite nice, and from a distance they look very good, and you can have a massive map rendered on screen without any frame rate issues whatsoever, even on max settings from a sort of mediocre computer from today's standards. So yeah, overall it's a very good game. It's worth getting. If you like Cold War history, you'll absolutely love this. And if you're going to get one of the two, I'd opt for Airland Battle, but it's up to you. I'd say Airland Battle normally has faster paced matches than this one, but either one's good, and actually if you could get both of them for a good price, get both of them, because they're both good in their own merit. So, very good RTS game, and I definitely recommend you get it.